Hotty toddy, Ole Miss fans, and welcome to the Brad and Chad Show on the OM Network. Brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans, made in the USA. This is the show by and for Ole Miss fans, where you'll get expert insight and analysis on Ole Miss athletics. And now, here are your hosts, former Rebels Chad Flowers and retired NFL star Bradley Sowell.
Podcast time.
Brad and Chad Show brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans. The turnstile that is the transfer portal continues to turn as the Rebels lose a player, but they also gain another big one. We'll discuss those ramifications here in just a little bit. We got some coaching turnover with the Rebels. We'll talk basketball. It is still basketball season, so we'll get into both the women's and men's teams, what they are doing. But first, I'm going to bring in Bradley Sowell, the man with his name first on this show. Bradley, how are you, sir?
What's up, Chad? So I'm thinking the playoffs should have been, and I repeat, Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, and Alabama. What did we watch last night? What did we watch?
Well, we watched the best team in the country by far beat a team that deserved to be in the playoff, but they still got their ass kicked.
Here's the I don't know. We can go on for days about it, but
we'll go on. It was funny. It's funny that you bring up the national championship. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a State fan that just he lost his mind talking about the game last night. I had our producer Patrick pull a clip.
Let him tell the story for us. Let him explain it for us,
and then I'll tell him why everybody. I'll tell you why he's wrong. Go ahead.
On the college football playoff committee, congratulations. You need to pat yourself on the back because you have screwed every college football fan in this country tonight. That's what you have done. You have done that. Look at this right here, 45-7. Okay? Now look at this. Luckily he dropped the ball. What is this? What is this? What have you given us? This is a national championship game. That's what this is. It is 45-7. You thought TCU belonged in this game? What was the qualifications, College Football Playoff Committee? What was their qualifications? Getting beat by Kansas State. That qualifies you for this game. The biggest game of the year. The game that every college football fan, no matter what team they pull for, looks forward to. And this is the garbage that you gave us. Pathetic. You are pathetic. This is a disaster. This is a barn fire. And every one of you, not one of you deserves to be on that committee if this is what you think college football is supposed to look like. You owe us all an apology. Every one of you that's on that committee that pulled some crap like this deserves us all an apology. And I want it. This better not ever happen again. This committee needs to be redone, got done away with, whatever you want to call it. This is garbage.
Oh. Chad, but before we go on, I would like you to guess, one, what his name was, and two, what part of Mississippi is he from?
Look, I don't want to get myself in trouble in the comments, but I am going to say that he was from Iuka, Mississippi, and his name was Gary.
I like Gary. I think his name's Jim Bob.
Okay,
and
so you're going
he's
the obvious
route. Trying to think, somewhere on the east, probably right outside of Boonville in a real small town, about 200 people.
All right. Okay. I can see that. I just hope that he's able to talk today at work. And I hope that he has some blood pressure medication.
Dude, I had a buddy of mine tell me, he said, I didn't even waste beer on that game.
Okay. So yes, the game stunk. The game was over before it began. However, TCU deserved to be there because they beat Michigan the week before. Michigan was, I don't think anybody would have disagreed when the playoff was announced. Michigan was the second best team in the country. They were 13-0, whatever their record, 12-0, whatever their record was. They beat Ohio State badly in Columbus, who also gave Georgia a run, and they beat Michigan. They deserve to play against Georgia. Georgia was going to beat anybody by double digits last night. Georgia was on it. Todd Monken called the game of his life. They demoralized everyone. But I'm tired of everybody talking about how Alabama should have been or whatever, because then we're starting to get into a system where teams like Ole Miss never have a chance to make the playoff because we're only talking blue bloods. Because of name recognition alone, those are the only teams that should play in the playoff. TCU, yeah, they got their ass kicked, but they beat the second best team in the country. They deserve to play in that game. Nobody was beating Georgia last night.
So do you think TCU maybe just got a little bit, the stage was a little too big for them? That's what you're saying.
Look, I mean, eventually when a team like that has all the players, recruiting matters. Recruiting matters. You know, yes, probably 8 times out of 10, TCU may not even beat Michigan, but they beat them that one time. Georgia's going to beat most teams 8 or 9 times out of 10 that they play them because of the bodies that they have on the sidelines. Basketball and football are completely different when it comes to upsets, right? You're not going to have near as many upsets in football because of the physicality of the game and how valuable talent matters. And there is a large deficit in talent when you talk about the blue bloods in college football and even the second tier, right? You know, Georgia, you know, and Ole Miss, there are still massive depths and talent at that level.
No, it's not even close.
It's not even close.
So I was looking last night. I think Georgia has had 14 5-stars on their roster. Yeah. TCU had a combined 15 4 and 5 stars combined.
Yeah.
So and then Georgia goes on to have another 50 4-stars.
But my thing is, right, if that's going to be our metric that we start using to say who should play for it, teams like Ole Miss, Mississippi State, TCU, they're never playing for a national championship because we're so ingrained to think that those teams don't belong on the same field. A lot of the times you're right. They're probably not going to win. But I'll once again bring up TCU beat Michigan, who everybody thought had deserved that number 2 seed. And they you can say they choked, but they still lost the game.
So do you think if we were in an 8 to 12 team playoff, it would have ended up where it ended up?
Probably. But once again, you get a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Georgia may not play the best game that they've played all season in that national championship spotlight. But once again, you have to wonder about what you're arguing for. Are you arguing for every team to have a chance? Because if you are, then you have to expand the playoff. If you don't, then it's just going to be the same 4 to 8 teams just playing in the playoff. You've got Clemson, Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Georgia, USC. Those are going to be the teams playing for the national championship.
I think my hang up with that, I see what you're saying. I mean, TCU earned it. Let's be real. They beat Michigan. My hang up is you see Alabama beat Kansas State 45-20. I mean, that's a boat race. And you look at TCU throughout the year. They shouldn't have beat Baylor. Came from behind to beat Baylor. Had another close game or two, which Alabama had a few close ones as well.
They did.
We talk about, hey, we want the best 4 teams in the nation. Okay, I don't care. You know, hey, Alabama lost 2 games on the last play. I'm not making a case for Alabama. I'm saying what I've seen a lot of people say.
Sure.
Alabama lost the last game twice on the road, hostile environments. Lost at the end of the game.
What's Alabama's best win?
Yeah, exactly. They don't have anything special either. So, but when you talk about the best 4 teams, if you were to line up and say, if TCU and Alabama were to play, who would be the favorite?
Alabama, probably by more
Michigan,
than
Alabama, probably Alabama as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if everybody thinks that Alabama's a better team, why don't we put the 4 best in there? Or why don't we extend it? Why don't we expand it at least to 8? Which I think they're going to. So are
you advocating for Vegas to set who's in the playoff every year?
I've actually seen that argument, and it's actually a decent argument.
But just understand that if that's the route that we go, teams like Ole Miss and your middle tier, they're never going to be in this conversation. So now we're either playing for, and I'll joke about it again, we're playing for the Birmingham Bowl, the Duke's Mayo Bowl every year, or we need to establish another year where we're playing for another championship. Because the whole point, you correct me if I'm wrong, you played multiple levels of this sport. The goal is to win championships. Am I correct? So if you're telling me that starting the season, I have no chance to play for a championship because of the name of the school that I go to, then you need to establish a system that allows me to play for a championship.
Yeah, well, I think the path in which you get there is what could be corrected as well. Like a TCU, let's realign this whole nation in games.
I don't disagree with that.
Let's make it where you have to. NFL, think about it. The best team actually gets there. Why? Because they beat the hell out of each other.
Exactly.
And you actually have to go there. You cannot never have an argument and say, hey, so and so didn't play so and so, or hey, the schedule, there's only 32 teams. I mean, you all play about the same opponents for the most part. So it may be the way we go about getting there. Hell, let's cut out these smaller games. You should have to play 12 legit games at a conference, match up with a conference, whatever. And I think that gives you a better chance where a 2-loss team can get in. A 2-loss team can get in and still be a good team. I just think at the end of the day, let's expand it. If we expand it, I think you end up with Georgia and Alabama. That's my honest assessment.
Right. And I agree with you. And I'm also on the same page with you about revamping the system. I think that the group of 5 and the power 5 need to separate and play for their own championships. And you establish the top 5, maybe top 6 conferences, and you only schedule within each other. Right now, that may mess up some of the economics of the game because teams have to get paid by these bigger schools to play them. Hey, we live in a capitalistic country, right? Hey, if you can't afford it, sorry, you can't play ball. But sorry to my Southern Miss people and my UAB people. Play for your own championship in a level below, because let's be honest, teams like that have 0.0 chance of even playing in a national championship when the season begins. Why not give them the chance to play for some sort of a championship? Hell, if you want to get into like Premier League relegation stuff, sure. If you want to start bringing teams up and pushing teams down, fine. But the system, the way it works right now, you're always going to have that argument. Well, Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia are your 1, 2, and 3. Who's going to be the 4th seed coming into the season?
I agree. And you know what? And I think if you look across the country, the talent is pretty loaded on certain teams. I think that's why Ohio State could hung with Georgia, because they have the same amount of 5 and 4. So not really the same amount, but pretty dang close to it.
They do.
4 and 5 stars that Georgia has. So when it came down to it, they were able to match some of that physicality, size, and all that. The O-line and D-line for Ohio State was just as physical as Georgia. I mean, throughout that game.
Do you think the transfer portal and the way that it is set up right now leads to maybe spreading out some of the talent a little bit more? Because, initially out of high school, your Alabamas, all the big schools are going to get the 5 stars. But when it becomes a playing time crunch, I can start looking around saying, you know what? Yeah, I signed here, but I know I can get playing time over here. I may move over because I'm not going to be penalized by having to sit out a year.
Yeah, it's definitely going to spread out the talent, but it's still, the big dogs are still going to get to look at them first, right? It's like, come here, let me play with the toy first. So I don't like this. Good, you ain't going to play for me anyway. So now you go somewhere else. You got to hope they pan out. They're still always going to get the first look. That's why I think it's just, let's cut the small stuff. Let's just create big conferences and make everybody play everybody and have more meaningful games, and maybe you get a little something more out of it. But I mean, that last night, that wasn't even, from a talent standpoint, that wasn't even close. I'm going to be honest with you.
But once again, you have to look, though, to the semifinals for some of the best semifinals that we've ever had. I was doing some research. Since the BCS was implemented back in '98, there have been 8 championship games that were that were less than double digits. Most of these games are blowouts because of the talent deficiency. 17 of the 25 championship games that have been played since 1998 have been double digits. Right? That brings us to another point.
How do you feel about, why do we wait a month to play, right? Why don't we play when these teams are in a groove? Like, think about it. Like, I've always saw that, man. If I take a month off playing football, then have to play 2 games, I'm not the same as I was a month ago. It doesn't matter all the practice you do, whatever. I mean,
the flip side of that argument, though, could it not be that this gives teams to get time to get healthy so they're able to put the best team on the field?
You can say that, but it's always, I'm telling you, my experience in playing, I mean, that sounds good on paper. It really does. But my experience in playing is why you're hot, stay hot, and keep playing. I used to hate coming back from a bye week because you just felt like shit. Your wind was off a little bit. I mean, a month off from football, I mean, I know you go out there and practice, but nothing simulates a game like a game. You can't go out there and practice. I don't care what you do in practice. There's nothing like tackling to the ground and playing full speed. I think that has a little bit to do with it too. That's probably why you see some of the blowouts. Some teams, do well in that time, and some don't. But I'd like to just play the thing. Let's maybe take a week off and let's roll. Let's play ball.
I think the expansion to 12, which is going to happen around 2024, 2025, once that happens, you are going to see it less spread out because obviously there's more games to play. And obviously ESPN plays a critical role in this because they own the whole thing and they get to determine when it gets aired. And of course, the tradition of bowl games and all that nonsense as well. That plays a big factor. Money is going to be the driving factor in all of this, as always. But all right, let me ask you this: since we're talking into this season, let's take a quick look. Obviously, the transfer portal hasn't completely settled. Is Georgia already your team, your number one team going into next year?
Yeah, it's Stetson Bennett's gone, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, Stetson Bennett's gone. Yeah, I mean they're pretty loaded, man. I mean they're not losing a whole lot from it. Hell, some of their best defensive players, I know, when their best defensive ends are freshmen. Dude, and looked unbelievable. And they're just reloading again. I mean, they're I think I was looking at the other day the different classes, and I think they have 2 of the top 5 linebackers in the nation. I mean, they're just reloading with talent every year. And what's great about it is now it's like the Nick Saban effect. Like you start winning all these championships, and now you can just grab whoever. All you got to do is do it a couple times, and then everybody wants to come, right? Then now recruiting is it's much easier for them. And you have a ton of support, ton of people, obviously donate to the program. Now you have unlimited resources, and now it just goes on autopilot, right? Like there's not a whole lot of coaching that goes into it. I mean, I know Kirby Smart gave a freaking crazy pregame speech, which was awesome.
It was real good. He's got a monster on his hands, man.
Dude, he really does. And I mean, the tight end for them is good. Yeah, I don't see them losing next year. I think I saw a stat where their schedule. There's I think there was 5+ teams or half the teams had 5+ losses this year.
Yeah.
Or something crazy. I saw
we're one of them. We get to go to Athens in November next year. So
that's going to be fun.
It'll be fun. Hopefully.
Also, did you see the one picture that said, tell me, I think it's time to quit playing around and say Kent State is the actual true second best team in the nation because they're scoring.
Them or Missouri, right? It's them or Missouri because Missouri played them close too. So Georgia played several close games, but that's to be expected, right? When you're Georgia, you have that target on your back. So some people are going to play their A game when you're playing your B or C game, which is still better than most teams' A game. But a game like last night, Georgia's not looking ahead to anything. They are there to kill. And that's what they did. They would have done that to pretty much anyone in the nation last night.
Yeah, you can blame Ohio State for that.
You can. Yeah.
Woke up, I mean, just like you play a close game, you're lucky to be there. And then it's like, all right, now I got something to prove. And TCU they looked like they were, I mean, they obviously, I think that they only have 4 guys that have ever been to even a bowl game on their team. So yeah, they were not ready for that. And then they weren't. Let go of the road.
And I'll end it on this, right? I understand where that guy was coming from with his yelling because the game ended. It was a dud. It was a dud of a game. But if you don't allow teams that earn it to be in it, you're arguing against your team, which he was a Mississippi State fan. Then your team's never going to get that benefit of the doubt because they don't have the legacy that these blue bloods have. So
I think it would have only been better if he'd had the cowbell in his hand and every point he made, he screamed and it was just one ring of the bell.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would have been just as annoying as listening to him scream there. So, yeah, that was good. Now, we talked a little bit about the transfer portal. Ole Miss does have some transfer portal news. Linebacker Austin Keys has entered. He may come back, who knows, but more than likely he will not be a Rebel next year. I think this one hurts a little bit. Miles Battle left, we talked about already on a previous show, but this one hurts too just because of it's such a position of need just in general. Yeah. 39 tackles, 2 sacks last year. He's been productive when he's been healthy. That has been a little bit of a bugaboo for him. So it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, we brought in Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste, but frankly, I like the upside of Keys over Jean-Baptiste, right? You kind of know what you're getting there with a guy from UCF. Keys, I still think had a lot of untapped potential.
Yeah, that was kind of an odd one. I mean, it's just I think that put us like 20 guys that have jumped in the portal. That one probably being the worst. Battle we can live with. I think he was not going to start. To be honest with you.
And we have a lot of depth at that position, right?
Yeah, we do. But the linebacker's one of those things, man. Like it's going to force one of these younger guys into play. I mean, Willis left as well, so you lose Willis, Keys. You lose 2 guys in that room. You're replacing with one guy with a little experience, but I think it may force one of these younger guys into action. I think Perkins could probably see a little time there. But yeah, that's what concerns me. You talk about going to Georgia, going to Alabama, and you're losing linebackers, and you're running the 3 down. Speaking of that, how about the 3 down last night? That was fun to watch in the national championship. That was
last night was definitely it was definitely
what
an
3
argument
down
not
look
for.
like in Athens next year. So hopefully we have a plan for it. That is and you don't want to lose guys on the front 7. So hopefully we got hopefully he's out there trying to get us somebody.
Yeah, there's still some edge rushers, linebackers in the portal out there. One of the names that was kind of mentioned by Ben Garrett on his Talk of Champions podcast, LSU's Demario Tolan. However, he committed to Auburn earlier today, so that's another name off the list. So it'll be, there's still that's still a position of need. You have Suntarine Perkins coming in, but still, you don't want to rely on a true freshman to anchor your defense. So we'll see what they do.
You would think it'd be attractive. I mean, linebacker, if you want to play in the SEC, and I mean, Ole Miss kind of offers you a shot. I'll also wonder what they think too when you're looking at a schematics. Do you want to play behind a three down? That's tough. It really is tough. So it's not really a spot as a linebacker. You're looking like, oh man, I want to sit there and take on guards all day. Sure. Not really have a chance to actually play the game pure. So I don't know. We'll see.
Correct. You're going to know this better than I do. Is there a lot of 3 down ran in the NFL?
Yeah, but it's a different style. It's got a nose, 2 4 eyes, and 2 stand up guys that can either rush the passer or drop into coverage where you drop 1, rush 1, but it's actually really a 5 down. And the reason they do that is so that way you can create one-on-one matchups across the board, forcing the O-line to call 5 down in passing situations. So, that's the really good teams, back when DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller were together, that they were considered linebackers, and that was a 3 down defense. But when it came to 3rd down, you had all 5 with pinning their ears back. So, and then obviously one would probably peel off of the back or whatever in the flat or something like that. But yeah, a lot of teams play it, but it's not what this is. This is a something totally different. This is whenever you're on Madden and you flip to the very, very back of the playbook and it's called prevent. And you got 3 down linemen with no overhangs, no anything. That's what this is called.
Yeah, I was asking because I wonder if the scheme that we run is a kind of a detractor from people wanting to come to Oxford. They don't want to play in that scheme. So I was wondering.
It's becoming popular. It's becoming popular in college football, and it works great until you face a team like Georgia or Alabama or half the SEC that has big linemen that are just going to line up and pound you. Arkansas. Right. One of the bigger schools, and it's not a great scheme fit for this conference. And we can keep trying it all we want. Arkansas had a little success with it. It's just not. You got to recruit big bodies and play a legit football scheme. You got to have guys that can cover. You can't just always protect against the pass. And it'll work. It'll work when you play Tulsa and some of these others, but it don't work when you play the big dogs. And if you're trying to build a championship program, and it's not going to be with a 3 down defense.
Yeah, there were rumors that there were going to be changes coming on the coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball. Those have yet to be seen, at least from an addition standpoint. But from a subtraction perspective, the Rebels did lose their defensive back coach, Sam Carter. He's going to be going to Purdue. Curious question, and I think somebody else asked you this on one of the message boards, Bradley. It feels like there is a lot of staff turnover under Lane, especially when you consider. Now, it does appear that Sam Carter worked with the guy that's now at Purdue when they were at Missouri together. But a lateral position, I'll call it that. I'm not going to. Purdue is not a better job.
There's been nobody really upgrade. There's been situations where they left and went to alma mater, stuff like that. I get it, but they've all been lateral.
Yeah. And so any insight or any theories as to why this is happening on the Rebel coaching staff leaving for these seemingly lateral positions?
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish I had answers. Everyone that comes up, it's situationally based. You look at them and say, hey, Jeff Lebby leaves. Cool. It's OU. Get it. Didn't have anything to do with money. He actually took less money to go to OU. I know that for a fact. You look at a guy like Kevin Smith, the running backs coach. He goes to Miami. I get it. He's from Miami. Joe John Finley goes to Oklahoma. Get it. Played Oklahoma guy, tight ends coach. So you got it situationally. But then when you get a guy like Sam Carter goes to Purdue, it's like, man, that's kind of odd. You almost think either just wasn't happy or Lane kind of forced him out. Jake Thornton goes to Auburn. That's kind of lateral. Lane actually handpicked that guy, and then he turns around and leaves. Wilson Love goes to Oregon. I guess Oregon has great facilities. I don't know. I mean, it's just that the list just keeps going on and on. I've never seen something like this. This many coaches go just for lateral positions. Now, I did see the argument. Hey, what are you saying? Alabama's guys leave for head coaching jobs.
Right.
They don't really
just
go. You're not leaving for Purdue if you're at Alabama or some of these other places. So, I don't know. It's odd. I mean, maybe, and I know you got the whole crowd out there too that says, "Hey, it doesn't matter as long as we have Lane, we're good." Well, my argument to that is, now I agree. Lane is the end all be all, and now that means you can't be blaming others for offense and stuff like that as well. I mean, he calls the offense. This is Lane's offense. This is his style, so you have to work it both ways. But my argument to that would be, man, it is sure nice to have some continuity amongst coaches. Now, I've been on teams where you keep switching the coach, and it makes you feel like a freshman every single year.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're learning new techniques. It was miserable. Whenever Harry Hiestand came in Chicago, came from Notre Dame's O-line coach, having to learn his way and his style was absolutely brutal. I seen it. I mean, I love Kyle Long. He's one of my best friends, but man, he just couldn't adapt to his style, and it drove him crazy, and ended up, only lasting a few more years after that. So, it's just, man, you want some continuity. It would be nice. I get it. I get it if it's 2-3 years, but man, when you're leaving every year, that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah. Brad and Chad Show brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans. Let's talk quick about Nest and Wild mattresses created by Southern craftsmen. Nest and Wild mattresses are powered by decades of experience and passion for improving your quality of sleep. Backed by a 99-night guarantee, Nest and Wild will help you sleep easy, and they're made locally in Tupelo, Mississippi. Find them on Amazon or nestandwild.com. Now, we talked about Austin Keys getting into the portal, leaving the Rebels. We did have a pretty big addition from the portal yesterday. So we've got a new tight end. His name is Caden Prescorn from the University of Memphis. With a big body, 6'5", 255. Yep. He was a junior last year, 48 catches, 602 yards. I think we've got some video of him. Bradley, what do you see out of him?
I really like him, man. I mean, I watched him close. I tried to find as much as I could. There wasn't a whole lot of him blocking, but man, he's a heck of a receiver. I think about 6'5" or 6'6", 250 pounds. I think they're looking for a guy that we need a guy that can consistently be there, know the playbook, just be a damn player. Like, why are we struggling to keep a tight end, like just a normal, serviceable SEC tight end, in play? It's just been odd at that position. But I think he reminds me a lot of, I couldn't really find an Ole Miss comp. Looks a little bit like Dawson Knox body-wise, but he's a lot bigger than that. NFL-wise, I think Hayden Hurst, he reminds me of that a little bit. He's going to be kind of that style. I think Hayden Hurst played at South Carolina as well. But the dude looks good, man. Can run, can catch. I checked out his stats versus. I want to see what he do versus decent opponents. Tulane, he had a decent game. UCF, he had a good game. Just a productive kid, man. And I think Ole Miss, now he had 600 something yards, but I think Ole Miss offers him a chance to receive a lot more. I would argue our scheme in Jackson Dart is probably a little better than what Memphis offered there. So good kid. I mean, a lot of people were after him. It's definitely a position of need. I think this helps, either push Trig or you say, hey,
insurance.
Now we go from hell. You go from not having a tight end to a really motivated tight end who wouldn't do anything year one to two really good players. And dude, what we've added so far in the passing game, I mean, we got some weapons. I mean, we got a few weapons we've added. Now you hope they pan out, but Trey Harris, Marshall, and this tight end from Memphis. I mean, that's three pretty good options to go along with Juckins.
And to add to that, there was a pretty interesting name that joined the portal as well. Obviously Jackson Dart's coming from USC. His favorite target while at USC was actually not Michael Trigg. It was Gary Bryant Jr. So he entered the portal. There's no rumors necessarily that he's coming to Oxford. Yeah. But who knows? Maybe Lane wants to get him a little bit more comfortable, bring him another familiar name. That's obviously an option in an already crowded wide receiver room. But hey, you never know how they're going to pan out. Look at this past year.
Yeah, I hate to break it to everybody. I know there's people excited about it saying, hey, Ole Miss going to have a chance, but Ole Miss is not going to go after this kid. Yeah. I think it's the sheer fact. What I was told is he plays in the slot. He said they'd be all over him, but he's a slot receiver. They're not really looking for that. So I don't think they're going to go after this kid, even though it seemed like the obvious, hey, man, he was Jackson Dart's target. I don't think Ole Miss is going to go after him.
So we'll see. They're obviously not with him, as you're saying, that we're probably not going to go after him. But we still have a few more, maybe a week or so left in this transfer window before it closes. It opens back up later this year. But there's still plenty of big names out there There's still some really big additions.
Well,
that the Rebels
there's
need to
also
make.
guys entering too. You saw a TCU backup quarterback or one of the quarterbacks enter the portal. Guys are going to keep entering, but I would like to get a few more guys here, man. I'd like to see some O linemen, but I'd like to see some defensive guys too, man. Like we need some defensive bodies over there. So it should be it should be interesting to see how we close. It's going to be very important that we at least get 2 or 3 more guys here.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear some more edge rushers committing. That big one from Ohio State would be real nice. We'll just see if that price tag makes sense. Okay, let's move to the hardwood and let's talk a little bit of basketball, not to bring everybody down a little bit, but let's tell it like it is. The men are in trouble. The men's basketball team coming off another loss. They're 0-3 in the conference. They lost to Mississippi State and Starkville this past weekend. They've got a ranked Auburn team. We're recording this on Tuesday afternoon. They're going to be playing later tonight in the Pavilion against Auburn. Bruce Pearl's team comes to town. I think this is the last chance to salvage the season, and frankly, this is Kermit's last stand to salvage his job.
Yeah, it's a tough start. Four tough teams in a row.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough one, man. It'd be nice to pull something off tonight, at least give us some hope. We're going to need a Mike Bianco type turnaround here.
Yeah, we are.
or it's not gonna be pretty. And it's like Kermit's a great guy, but it is what it is. It's got to work out on the floor as well.
Yeah, eventually you have to have results. And, the reason why I say I think this is the last stand is Ole Miss has had some recent success against Auburn, and Auburn is not the team that they were last year or the year before. So there is a chance there. And then after that, you've got Georgia at home, and you go to South Carolina. South Carolina right now, according to record, is the worst team in the SEC. So that gives you a chance to get back to 3-3 in conference play before you have to go to Fayetteville. Frankly, no Ole Miss team plays well in Fayetteville, so I don't have a lot of expectations there. But if they're going to get this done, it needs to start tonight in the Pavilion against Auburn. So hopefully when we record next week, we'll be able to have some happy news, but we will see because it's only going to get tougher from here on out.
Yeah, no question, man. I mean, rooting for him, man. But you're right. We give Auburn fits. I mean, I was at the game last year when we played Auburn, and yeah, we gave them all the trouble in the world. And they had some really good players, so they ended up beating us. But it was, we always give them a tough time. It'll be a fun game tonight to see. Hopefully, maybe nice to get a win and go on a little streak and somewhat salvage it. But I don't understand that the talent's there. Like
the talent's there.
And then the 4 guys. I think I sent you pictures the other day. 4 guys that have transferred are all averaging 13 points or more. I mean, you got Henson, you got Joyner, Crowley. I mean, all these dudes are out doing. I mean, it's weird, man. It's not making a whole lot of sense.
No, offense under Kermit has been weird the entire time he's been here because I've said it before. It looks like a rock fight every time we are on the basketball court. It is just it's not a brand of basketball that's appealing on the eyes. But if you win,
how do you feel about the argument? I've also I've also talked to a coach or two that knows a lot more about basketball than I know. But do you think it'd be better if we just let him kind of play a little bit, let him kind of run?
He's very animated.
I feel like we slow it down way too much.
Yeah.
I feel like we let him run and gun a little bit. Maybe that would help.
It can't hurt at this point.
No.
I don't know if that's because he's so defensive minded. He wants to make sure everybody gets set. I don't know. I don't know what his logic is on the offensive side of the ball. I'm not going to get into it because, like you said, I'm not a basketball expert. But what I can say is the results have not.
Yeah,
they haven't been there, right? So we'll see what happens. Like I said, we're rooting for him, nice guy, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to bring wins home, and that has not happened the last couple of seasons. Now,
so how many days till baseball?
We're about a month away. I think season opener is February 17th against Delaware, so we are almost there. Now, I will say on the other side of the pavilion, hey, Coach Yo has the women's team rocking, right? They are 15-2 overall. They're 4-0 in conference play. They've got Georgia and Athens next. Now, granted, they have not played the strongest competition, so I'm not going to completely blow smoke here. They've played 4 teams that are 1-15 in conference play. There are a lot of tough games to play, but hey, they can only play who's on their schedule, and they've won every game, and they've won them convincingly. So we're going to see if Coach Yo can get it to 5-0 and continue moving forward with getting this team back to the NCAA tournament. So it's been really impressive to see what she's been able to do so far.
Yeah, no kidding, man. She's cool. She's probably riding her little moped around the neighborhood, just balling around. She's a trip. But yeah, that's good for them, man. She's great for that program. She's really made them relevant. Compared to where they were over the last some odd years. So it's just cool to see her having some success.
Yeah, the reclamation. She's done a hell of a job bringing that program back to where it was. From where it was, I should say, because we were the worst team in the SEC before she got there, and she has rejuvenated that program, which is always good to see. We're kind of in the dead period of athletics, other than basketball. There is some pretty cool baseball news. Perfect Game, who does a lot of tournaments and stuff like that for high school baseball and stuff. They named Jacob Gonzalez first team All-American. Hunter Elliott, second team. We mentioned the season opens February 17 as the Rebels will look to defend their national championship. So it's never too early to talk about baseball, especially considering, that's a successful program that we can talk about. So so that's some good baseball news that's coming out. And like you, I can't wait for baseball season to start. Yeah,
I got a great schedule this year, man. I was looking at it last night. We played Maryland, Purdue. We play some good, just some different teams, some different looking teams. So it'll be fun, man. I mean, baseball. Just call it what it is. Ole Miss's best chance to win a national title is mainly baseball, and hoping football's right there behind it, and then thirdly, basketball's got a long ways to go. But baseball is that one sport where the expectation is high, and we expect to be there and compete for it.
Yeah, and the only football we have left is the NFL. Playoffs get started this weekend, and there's a lot of big-name Ole Miss players, former Ole Miss players, obviously, that are going to have their fingerprint on their games. You've got Evan Ingram, who's had a resurgence in Jacksonville. You've got A.J. Brown, obviously, with they've got a bye this week with the Eagles. DK is going to be playing against San Francisco this weekend. So there's going to be some pretty interesting
Dawson Knox as well. So
you got Dawson Knox with the Bills. So who's your prediction? If you were to make a bet right now, who would you take as the winner of the Super Bowl?
Well, I would say it's going to be a fun year, man. And you can look at 5 or 6 different teams and make a case for them. And if they win it, you can have a strong case. You got Eagles, Chiefs, Bills, Vikings. Who else? The Bengals can get hot. Mm-hmm. You have quite a few teams that can get hot and get in there. Jacksonville's playing great. Hell, I would love to see Detroit get in there.
I would too.
Detroit's 8-2 in their last 10 games.
Would you have liked to play for Dan Campbell?
Dan Campbell is cool, man. Like you can tell that I knew that was going to eventually catch on, just because he's a funny dude, man. Like some of the situational stuff. I mean, he's perfect. 4th and 2, could have took the field goal to tie. Nope, going for it, hit a quick out. I'll tell you what, their offensive coordinator is hellaciously good there too. He called a good game, about as good as Georgia's offense coordinator the other night, just as far as creativity. But how about my Bears, though? My Bears get the first pick, baby. So
they do, thanks to the Houston Texans pulling out a win against Jeff Saturday's Colts. All right, so here's the question. So you've got Justin Fields.
Trade him.
You want to trade Justin Fields and go for Bryce Young?
He can't throw. Dude, listen. The guy he cannot throw the ball. You got to throw the ball in the NFL. Great, he can run it. Cool. His durability's not going to last very long. He's going to get roughed up. Dude, if I'm the GM, I'm putting on my GM cap right now. And this is not going to go over well in Chicago. I'm so sorry, but this is the way I see it. And I think Justin Fields could be a good player at some point, but it's about to be year 3, dude. He has worse stats than Mitchell Trubisky. And I love Mitch, but he has worse throwing stats. I want to throw her in the NFL. So if I am the Bears, they have a ton of draft capital. I am trading Justin Fields for a pick, and I'm taking Bryce Young, number 1 overall. Why? Because he's a better thrower. And you're going to get the equal quarterback, in my opinion.
Why Bryce Young over CJ Stroud?
I'm not going Ohio State route again. Are you kidding me? Like,
That's true.
When's the last time one of those guys have worked out? I mean, Alabama's not much better, but I mean, good grief, man. Like those guys never seem to pan out. Give me Bryce Young, just because he's done it in the SEC, and I've watched him. I've watched him so many times, and I've tried to talk shit about Bryce Young and be like, no, he's not that good. Then he starts making throws, legit NFL throws. And I have to say, you know what? He can probably do that on Sunday with with really good protection and
some big throws against the Rebels this year.
Trade him. I know it's crazy, but trade him. You get a brand new, fresh start quarterback with a new contract that is very very manageable over the next 5 years. You control him plus the franchise tags, and then you probably get into first rounder or maybe a first and a second rounder for Justin Fields. Now you got a brand new start to quarterback, which he probably fits their scheme a little better, in Chicago, or maybe you find an offensive coordinator that fits him better, and then you get more draft. I mean, you get more draft picks to go along with him. People are gonna think I'm crazy, but 2,000 yards ain't gonna cut it in the NFL. And the 1,700 the year before, yeah, he can run, cool, but that's how quarterbacks get hurt. Lamar Jackson figured that out. Like, hey, yeah, I can run, it's great, but when I start getting banged up, like that's not a quarterback that can play 10, 12 years. Give me Bryce Young first overall, trade him.
All right, we'll see what happens. My Dolphins don't have a pick. They forfeited it, and they're going to get their ass kicked against the Bills this weekend. So a lot to look forward there in Miami. So I'm really
weren't they like 8 and something at one point?
They were, and then they decided to just be not any good anymore. Tua's made of glass. He's got concussions. And then when he does play, he has the arm strength of your 2-year-old. So, yeah, I'm a little frustrated with that franchise.
So but I don't know how we shouldn't take Bryce Young in Chicago, another Alabama quarterback with a little pea shooter.
Look,
don't knock my case down, dude. I like Fields is great, dude. Put him at running back. He's a great runner. He's fast. He's big, but dude, you got to be able to recover through it too and make a daggum throw. And of course, he's made a throw. I'm not saying he can't throw, but he's got to be able to make a throw.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Like I mentioned, a lot of big news still out there. Hopefully, we'll have some more portal clarification coming around next week for our show. But before we leave you, I do want to make sure and mention Jeff Griffin with the Stevenson Griffin Group at Baird Private Wealth Management. You can go to the group's website, stevensongriffingroup.bairdwealth.com, or always give them a call, 662-841-1900. And always, we want to thank our title sponsor, Blue Delta Jeans, handmade in the USA to fit you and only you. Visit them at bluedeltajeans.com to find your fit using their easy-to-use virtual tailor. Bradley, softball, check in. Let's go real quick before I leave you.
Softball's going good, man. Our team got our little swag going. Hellacious infield. We're looking good. We need another player or two.
Okay.
I'm keeping my roster thin. I'm keeping us at 9 so we can kind of be be flexible and pick up a player or two. But I got some girls that can play now, and we are my girls have worked pretty hard, and I know our team works pretty hard, so it's exciting. I feel like I spend all day being the GM. You've been around me before. I'm calling families, trying to get girls to play for me. 1, 2, I am trying to do all logistical stuff. So I'm essentially just a softball dad. It's just a softball GM, and then I work on the side, I guess.
You should just put an ad on Craigslist saying you're looking for a 10-year-old girl and see what happens.
Oh my gosh, you're looking at that.
All right. We'll end on that. So yeah, Brad and Chad show. We will see y'all next week. Thank you. Make sure you like and subscribe wherever you get the Brad and Chad show podcast. Until next time, hotty toddy, my man.
See you, Chad. Hotty toddy.
Thanks for listening to the Brad and Chad Show. Follow the boys on social media for more content. And don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. This has been an OM Network production, brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans, made in the USA.